This is Good Morning Football. We're live in New York City. It is official. 8 days until the NFL draft in Dallas. Y'all ready?
Of course we are. Okay?
I'm ready because I threw that y'all in there. Real smooth.
Look at you.
Like, just like I'm
I reckon you ready for Dallas.
Cowboy outfits are happening. So 8 days to Dallas. Let's talk about our favorite 8th overall picks of all time.
All right, I'll jump in right out the gate. My favorite 8th overall pick is one of my close friends, a guy that I battled with for quite some time, and that is DeAngelo Hall to the Falcons back in 2004. And I was drafted in 03 and 04. This young man came in who was extremely talented. He had the swag of Deion Sanders. He was a go-getter when that ball was in the air and extremely athletic. 14 seasons, 14 NFL seasons. He actually played 5 games last year. Now, majority of those were at corner. He's one of those guys that made the switch from corner to safety and still is one of the best ball hawks you've ever seen. He had one game where he had 4 interceptions. 3 interception games was nothing to him. 2 interception games was easy money. I remember when I did the Allen Iverson charity softball game. I'm out in D.C., and, you know, I'm a decent softball player. He gets on first base, and I haven't seen him outside of the pads ever do anything. He decides to steal base, and he kind of looks over at the dugout. He's like, guys, watch this. And he covered from first to second in what I thought was 2 steps. It might have been 3, but it was the fastest I ever seen. And that's one thing I'll always remember about him. When he came out of his breakup against any wide receiver, he was so quick and explosive. When that ball was in the air, he didn't want to get that PBU and knock it down. He didn't want to let you catch it and then tackle you. He wanted to go up and turn himself into a wide receiver. So shout out to DeAngelo Hall for being one of the best ball hawking cornerbacks I've ever seen, but also bouncing back from injuries, being resilient, and still playing to this day. D. Hall, I see you. Salute, buddy.
Wore number 21 for the Falcons and played defensive back.
You
gotta have some courage there.
Oh, that's right.
I mean,
3 interceptions.
4 picks, like after 3 picks, wouldn't you stop throwing at him? Like he got you 3 times.
Right.
Throw away from him.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I'm going to go to the 1999 NFL draft, where the 8th overall pick was a guy out of Ohio State who was unbelievable, David Boston to the Arizona Cardinals in '99. Before we get there, my first impressions of David Boston were back in college. At Ohio State, he was Mr. Buckeye, and he goes against Charles Woodson at Michigan. It was superpowers colliding. They had a full-on fist fight on the field in which Charles Woodson took off his helmet and said, let's go. I mean, they were going at it. These were really the 2 biggest stars in the game in the same position, same matchup. I've never seen anything like it. At one point, David Boston caught a touchdown pass and backed into the end zone in the last 10 yards. Woodson then caught a pass. This was Thor versus Iron Man. An unbelievably cool thing. Oh, crazy. So then he gets to the pros, and then he just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The legacy for David Boston will always be the physique because he dedicated himself to bodybuilding. He was the strongest wide receiver, which is sort of like being the fastest lineman. It's a little bit weird. His biceps got so big. You're like, what is going on with this guy? Look at him. That's when he's later with the Dolphins. Massive, massive arms. The San Diego Union Tribune did a story on him in '03, said he would take 90 dietary supplement pills a day to make sure he had his swell.
Big old bag in his locker.
9-0, like a duffel bag, exactly.
So question, did he have to get a pump in or not?
You know what, Kay? I bet he did get a pump in. That's a great question. Doing push-ups before the game, because I think he liked how he looked. He got into modeling afterwards, and my last memory of him was it became such a big thing and such a storyline that David Boston is ripped. There would be defensive backs who would break up a pass intended to him and then turn to David Boston and flex in his face. Like they would do the full-on Hulk Hogan because it was satirical at that point. But meanwhile, he was a fantastic player. Had a 1,500-yard season in '01. Great player, great traps.
Yeah, great traps. And I remember he would get on the line of scrimmage, and DBs would get up to bump him, and they'd be like, let me go ahead and back up a little bit.
Ridiculous.
It was almost like he wanted it. He was like, I dare you to try to press me. Try to bump me right now. And a couple guys did, and he just shoved them right up the line of scrimmage.
I wish there was a world where we could have gotten David Boston versus LaRon Landry, because the 2 of them were like the same defense, offense guy. That was it.
Battle of the biceps.
They're talking about Gronk stepping away to be an action hero. David Boston stepped away from the game to be a male model. And no one questioned it. They were like, oh, he's got a great physique.
Yeah, he should. What's he waiting for?
Should have been in Black Panther.
That's it. Exactly. David Boston, hello. My favorite 8th overall pick goes back to the 1981 NFL draft. fight on, USC Trojans, the Ronnie Lott selection by the San Francisco 49ers, changed their franchise history. He would go on and win 4 Super Bowls with the 49ers, obviously a first ballot Pro Football Hall of Fame inductee, maybe the best safety to ever play the game. Most people would say that is absolutely true. And, of course, there's the final tough guy story that everyone wants to tell. Everyone's got a football guy story. There's no football guy story like Ronnie Lott. 1985, final game of the regular season. Ronnie Lott tears off part of his left pinky. Just tears it off, all right? Got caught between the shoulder pads and the helmet of Cowboys fullback Tim Newsome. All right, so his fingers ripped off, all right? What's he do? Well, the front of the pinky was gone, but the back of the pinky was fine. Doctor said, don't play against the Giants. Don't play in the wild card round. We'll taped it up. Played. Not only that, they played the next game. Did it all. The tip of Lott's pinky was amputated in April of 1986. He would go on the rest of his career having played football without the tip of a finger. Talking about a guy who gave his body. Ronnie Lott gave his body quite literally. And that only scratches the surface of what a great player and man he was. Ronnie Lott, my favorite 8th overall pick.
I'll give you 3 stories from my career.
3? Let's do it.
Directly related to Ronnie Lott.
In a quick way.
In 03, when I was a rookie, I broke my nose, bleeding on the sideline. Doctor says, do you want to keep playing? I think of Ronnie Lott. No joke.
Sure.
In 07, I get folded up. Something's wrong with my ribs. I go to the sideline. They feel my ribs. You broke your rib, Nate. Do you want to keep playing? I think of Ronnie Lott. I go back in.
Have to.
In 08, I tweak my knee, partially tear my ACL. At halftime, doctor says, you shouldn't go back in. I go back in. I completely tear my ACL. No joke, all because of the story I heard about Ronnie Lott.
Ronnie Lott.
And that's his impact
He set
on
the
players
standard,
today.
right? You got to think of him every time.
Right.
Early in the show, before we really knew each other, we were talking about toughest players, who's the toughest player, and you guys told me about Ronnie Lott, and I thought you guys were joking.
I thought we were just playing
You guys used to tell me, like, YouTube this, YouTube. I went and I YouTubed it, and I would not believe it until I read it and saw it on my own. What a tough player Ronnie Lott was. I'll never forget that. I was like, stop lying to me, Peter.
No, he did it.
Stop. All right, now for a pop quiz here for the 8th overall pick, guys. So this is my contribution here. The Panthers selected Christian McCaffrey, we know, 8th overall back in 2017. Prior to that, name the last running back the Panthers drafted 8th overall.
I'm going to say Deshaun Foster.
I'm going to say Tim Biakabatuka.
I have 0.
Jonathan Stewart?
When in doubt, pick Tim Biakabatuka.
Yeah!
How did you know that?
Michigan legend.
Michigan man, Biakabatuka. His real name, do you remember his name? Deshminga or something?
Yeah.
It's very long.
Do we have the real name there? Because his full name is not, it was a very
like
long,
Akbar.
it was one of those deals.
I don't, but this is going to turn into a Stump the Shregs.
I like that.
I like that too.
Well, I'm going to get you, Shregs.
like it.
All right, last week, this OBJ video was the winner. We'll bring you this week's hottest trending